Let's talk about Mahomes and Kelce in full swing at a golf tourney, PFF poorly ranking Mahomes and the Chiefs, as well as listing the Chiefs' most intriguing addition, take an in-depth look at the tight end room leading up to training camp, and much freaking more. But first, how about those? What's up, guys? My name is Cole, aka Patrick Mahomes' white brother, or sometimes known as the beautiful King Blood Beard legend, and I do daily news about the Chiefs and the NFL overall, so make sure to sub if you're new because I know a little bit of you loves looking at my little beard here on my little channel a little. Hit that like button if you think Patrick Mahomes is the best QB on the entire planet, and let's get into this video starting with a few players who have been hitting the little gym and training their little muscles. Josh Gordon is here in KC, continuing to train and stay ready for training camp later this month as he shows himself with no shirt, either drenched in sweat or that little water bottle he's holding. He dumped it all over himself to appear that he's been working very hard. Not 100% sure, but let's move on here because Willie Gay can be seen training very hard, doing some dumbbell lunges, these kettlebell side lunge things, then trying to run sideways with this band around his waist, then using the same band to jump very high. Then he's using this really floppy squat bar thing, and it's suspect, if I'm going to be honest. Then he pushes this sled around like he owns it, because he does. He's working, basically. Then Mahomes and Kelce can be seen working on their golf swing since they're out there competing at the AC Championships with a bunch of other athletes and celebs. And my question to you all is this: who does it better, Mahomes or Kelce? And then Matt McMullen, the senior reporter for the Chiefs, recently released an article highlighting all the tight ends fighting for spots on the roster leading up to training camp. So let's dive in here because there's a lot to digest and chew on. Of course, you have one of the greatest to ever do it, Travis Kelce. He's a lock. We all know that. And then you have Blake Bell, who is returning for his third season in KC, where his main contribution on offense was a blocker where, according to PFF, he earned the 9th best run blocking grade among tight ends with at least 220 blocking snaps. So there's that for whatever PFF's little formula is worth. More on those guys later, trust me. Something else about Blake Bell is the creative way they used him in motion to actually take the snap under center and do these effective little tight end QB sneaks. Essentially, he was 4 for 4 on those, picking up a first down every single time. I do like that they did that with Bell. Instead of using their $500 million QB, who on a real fluke of a play dislocated his kneecap while trying a QB sneak, if you guys remember that. But I wonder if because of that one mishap, they will never have Mahomes do another QB sneak in his entire career. I guess time will tell. Anyway, on top of that, something else I forgot to mention when talking about Blake Bell recently is the fact that he contributed to 155 snaps on special teams last season, which was 10th most special team snaps on the team and is now 5th most among returning players. And that further solidifies my thoughts on Bell being a roster lock, especially given that. Then we have Noah Gray, the 5th round selection from the 2021 draft, and the guy who flashed during OTAs a lot last season, but was relatively quiet overall on offense. He did start in one game and appeared in 16, but only caught 7 passes for 36 yards and a TD. While that alone would be discouraging, this man played a boatload of special team snaps, 4th most on the team last year at 278 snaps. And here's a very interesting stat. The 3 players ahead of him in that area, linebacker Dorian O'Daniel, receiver Marcus Kemp, and safety Armani Watts, are no longer on the team. So that means Noah Gray is now the most significant returning special teamer. That's a pretty cool stat, actually, and another reason why this man, to me at least, is a 95% roster lock. So nice freaking work, Noah Gray. Then the 4th and more than likely final roster lock to me, depending on the scenario, is Jody Fortson. We all know he showed promise last season before he went down with that Achilles injury and is a fan favorite for a healthy comeback this season. Now, I'm not 100% sure how he's going to look after his injury, but he appears pretty good to go from what I'm seeing and hearing via OTAs, minicamp, all that good stuff, which shows promise. Fortson is a man who spent 2 years on the practice squad, paying his dues, if you will, before making the active roster last season. And fun fact, Fortson was listed as a wide receiver until he made the switch to tight end ahead of the 2021 season, which is honestly genius for the Chiefs and him to make that switch because this man is 6'6" and 240 pounds. So when you think of the receiving core and talk about who's going to show out this season, Fortson actually isn't talked about much by the big media heads who literally have big heads up here. But think about this for a second. You have Travis Kelce, who's getting older, and the Chiefs need to do what they can to preserve his health for the duration of the season. So could Fortson be the guy to sort of fill in for Kelce's role a bit here and there this season as they preserve Kelce? I'm thinking yes, freaking indeed. The rest of the guys on this list are fighting for a spot on the roster, in my opinion, but more realistically for a spot on the practice squad. And the issue here is this: the Chiefs don't typically stash a bunch of tight ends on the practice squad. So you're talking maybe one guy who could maybe end up on said practice squad, and the rest, I presume, will have to go bye. Anyway, those guys fighting for that potential one spot would be Matt Bushman, who spent most of last season on the LA Raiders practice squad, but was signed to a reserve futures contract early this offseason. And then you have former pro basketball player Mark Vital, a rather interesting developmental prospect. And finally, you have Jordan Franks, a guy I've talked about a couple times in previous videos because he has flashed during OTAs with some miraculous grabs, according to media. We weren't there, so we don't really know, but he's a 25-year-old who entered the NFL in 2018 as an UDFA, aka a UDFA, and played for the Bengals and the Browns before coming to KC. So there you have it, the list of tight ends currently on the roster heading into training camp. And if you counted right about my roster locks, you can see I'm predicting the Chiefs to keep 4 tight ends on the active roster, just like they did in 2021. And the year before that in 2020. So that's where I'm currently leaning. 4 on the active roster: Kelce, Fortson, Gray, Bell, and maybe one of these others on the practice squad. If they keep 4 on the active roster, though, it's hard to tell if any of these guys are going to stay on the practice squad. But back in 2019, the Chiefs decided to roll with 5 running backs instead of 4 heading into week 1, which meant they had to cut a spot elsewhere, and they did that by having only 3 tight ends on the active roster. And with how crowded the running back room is today, that scenario is not out of the realm of possibilities, certainly. So if they did that, that would be 3 tight ends, and then more than likely 1 for sure on the practice squad. But again, so many scenarios could play out that it's hard to tell right now.
Here's the thing about the future. Every time you look at it, it changes.
All right, so PFF recently ranked all the rosters for all 32 teams using PFF grades from the 2021 season and a more comprehensive assessment of each player's career using both PFF grades and statistics and blah, 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 basically. So let's look at the AFC West, aka the AFC Best, because Mahomes is in it, and see where these teams rank. The Las Vegas Raiders are first up, being closer to the bottom of this list than any other AFC West team, which is not surprising to any of us, especially me, but they list the team's biggest strength as their receiving core, basically, with the addition of Devontae Adams, and they have Hunter Renfrow and Darren the Baller Waller. I like that guy, actually, even though he thinks he's a better tight end than Kelce. That guy is insane. Anyway, with them catching passes from Patrick Mahomes' son, it could be perceived as a strength, but Patrick Mahomes' son is mid at best. Anyway, aside from Patrick Mahomes' son, their weakness appears to be their weak little offensive line. Then the Broncos are next up at 14th overall, with their biggest strength being their secondary, with players like PS2, no, wrong photo, PS2, and it looks like their weakness is their weak little linebackers. Then all the way up at number 3, not a typo, are the Los Angeles Chargers, with their biggest strength being their pass rush of Khalil Mack, if he can stay healthy, that large but brittle man, and Joey Bosa, while their biggest weakness is listed as their right tackle position. Then next up are the Kansas City Chiefs, who you would think would be ranked higher than the Chargers, or maybe the Bucks, the Rams, the Packers, but especially the Browns, Eagles, or Bengals. But no, they are not in this silly little list where they have the Buffalo Bills ranked at number 1. And while that is a complete surprise to all of us that the Buffalo choke in the postseason to the Chiefs, Bills are the favorites, I figured I'd at least let you all know that. But enough of this. Where do the Chiefs rank this season according to PFF? I know you all are chomping at the bit, so here we go. They are ranked 9th overall, just after the Bengals, who are ranked 8th, and just before the Dolphins, who are ranked 10th. So yeah, this is very freaking interesting. Again, this list is based off of PFF grades from last season, so that's where it landed them. But this little formula doesn't factor in players like Justin Reed, playing for an absolute dumpster fire team last season, the Houston Texans, which dramatically affects his PFF grade. So whatever about that, but this is also interesting to note. Patrick Mahomes' PFF grade is listed as an 80.4 last year. And listen to this. According to their numbers, any player who grades out at a 90 plus is categorized as elite. And then any player graded at 80 to 89.9 are good/high quality. And then any player graded at 70 to 79.9 are graded as average. So according to PFF's grading system, Mahomes is a good player, but nearly graded out as average. What the heck is wrong with y'all's formula? This thing is broken and may quite possibly need to be reconfigured from the ground up, you lying little weasels. Mahomes average/good, not elite? How's this formula gonna have the best QB in the league, almost graded as an average player? Anyway, so now that we know their formula is basically broken, let's look at what they have to say about the Chiefs. Mahomes is listed as the Chiefs' biggest strength, who had a down year last season, although the passing offense still ranks second in the NFL expected points added per play, behind only the Rams, aka the Rams. Mahomes' ability to pull off unbelievable outside of structure plays, while also limiting negative plays and excelling within structure, will keep him at the top of the league's quarterback hierarchy. That's a word, regardless of what is in place around him. The only QB to finish higher in PFF's wins above replacement metric than Mahomes since 2018 is Tom Brady. Well, they say nice words about him, but again, their formula is dumpster juice. And speaking of dumpster juice, they list the Chiefs' defensive front as their weakness. And while I wouldn't go as far to say that my favorite team's defensive line is dumpster juice, I will say this, it needs a lot of freaking work. They ended the regular season ranked 20th in team pressure rate at 32%, with Chris Jones and Frank Clark standing out as the only two players to clear 30 pressures on the year. Kelce also ranked 28th in EPA allowed per run play, and we know they were also like 29th overall in sacks last year as well. Basically, not great. Borderline cellar dwellers, if I'm going to be honest, though I hate to say it. From here, though, they then talk about the Chiefs' X factor for 2022, which is the receiving core with Hill gone and the Dash brothers here, MBS and Juju, who will both be asked to replace some aspects of Tyreek Hill, yes. But then PFF lists the most intriguing offseason addition as wide receiver Skyy Moore. He led the Football Bowl subdivision, i.e. the highest level of college football, in missed tackles forced after the catch with 26 in 2021, and they say he could operate both in the slot and outside in KC's offense this offseason. So, not a complete surprise as a potential X factor, but intriguing, as they say nonetheless. Skyy's draft profile had its pros and cons. The cons are pretty typical for a smaller receiver. He struggles in pass blocking a bit against bigger defenders and can struggle a bit as well against bigger defensive backs if he isn't able to create separation early in the route. But I feel like that can be a struggle of many receivers his size. He's 5'10", 194 pounds. But here is where he excels, the pros, if you will. He has great ball tracking skills, quick short area bursts and agility, and can almost seemingly pluck the ball out of the air at will. He had only 3 drops last year out of 94 receptions, and he racked up 1,283 yards and 10 TDs in 10 regular season games that he played. Something else worth noting about Skyy is he was used frequently on jet sweeps in the run game, play action, and a frequent target of screen passes, as well as was aligned at every receiver position in WMU's offense, playing both on the left and right, as well as the X-flanker and slot assignments. And while I don't think all of that will translate to his role on the Chiefs, in fact, I can promise you he's not going to be doing all that, it's good to know how versatile this guy can potentially be. I just pray that this man is studying Andy Reid's complicated playbook every single day at breakfast, lunch, and dinner, as well as nap time and maybe tea time, and he's taking care of those little hamstrings. If he does all that, why couldn't Skyy Moore be a potential X factor on this team? Why the heck not, especially if an injury occurs on the receiving core, which it probably will happen at some point this season, and he's definitely going to be asked to contribute more heavily if that is the case. So what do you guys think about Skyy Moore as the Chiefs' X factor, or at least most intriguing addition to the team for the 2022 season? Is it a bit of a reach, or do you see it as something that could very well become reality? And last question here, what the heck do you think of this PFF ranking listing the Chiefs 9th overall, but also almost ranking Mahomes as an average quarterback? My question is their formula broken, or is it broken? Let me know your thoughts on all of that in the comments down below, and let's make sure to argue about it down there like the extremely mature adults we are, and I'm talking to myself as well. From here, I want to answer some super thanks comments from yesterday real quick. Justin The Way sends over a $2 super thanks saying, "Bro, bad day. I was looking forward to seeing Pat's son to cheer me up. So sad. Now I have to pay for visitation rights. Cold-blooded man." Well, I do apologize about that. Please forgive me. Then Chiefs fan for life has this to say about Juju. His best season was 2018, and on November 29th, 2018, we're talking specific dates here, Juju said the below statement about Antonio Brown, not Anthony Brown, who the heck is that? Substitute Brown, though, for Kelce in his statement. Either teams will double/triple Kelce in the same fashion, or Kelce won't be double teamed. Win-win for KC either way. And here's what Juju had to say about Brown, but we're replacing Brown with Kelce now. Obviously, he's been here for 9 years. He's getting double teamed, triple teamed. It's hard, you know, but he still makes his plays, and he still has the explosive plays that he's making. And for me to be a young guy, me and running back James Conner and some of the other guys are being able to eat off his plate because of what he's done in the past. Well, I definitely dig this and expect Juju to have a great season this year because of Kelce, to be honest. I've been saying that, so let's freaking go. Then Eric Stanley sends over a $10 super thanks, that generous man, and says, "The man with the beard of flames. Me and my boy, Daniel Wake, not sleep, but wake, have daily conversations about your content. It's kind of our temporary fix during this depressing offseason. Keep giving us that fire and grab yourself a burger." Well, a burger will be grabbed. Thank you. I appreciate it a ton. I'm glad I could help you and Daniel's daily convos during this sad, slow, and downtime in the NFL. Very slow, in fact. But this is exactly what I am here for. So make sure to leave a bearded comment or a super thanks to potentially be featured in my next vid. Sub for more daily news like this. And check out this video right here, boop, boop, which is Ryan Tracy and Matt Derrick talking about Orlando Brown Jr.'s contract hopefully getting done, Skyy Moore's offensive role this season, and more. And until next time, let's go. Let's freaking go. How about those?